The Old Woman of the Spring, Cheyenne. This tale about the gifts of corn and buffalo to the Cheyenne is related to the legend which follows it about Arrow Boy. In the Cheyenne manner, a storyteller will say, let's tie another story to the end of this one and go on from there. North, as it is spoken of at the beginning of both tales, is a nostalgic reference to the Cheyenne hunting grounds in North Central America from which they were driven by invading tribes, probably the Ojibwe. When the Cheyennes were still in the north, they camped in a large circle at whose entrance a deep, rapid spring flowed from a hillside. The spring provided the camp with water, but food was harder to find. The buffalo had disappeared, and many people went hungry. One bright day, some men were playing the game of ring and javelin in the center of the camp circle. They used a red and black hoop and four long sticks, two red and two black, which they threw at the hoop as it rolled along. In order to win, a player had to throw his stick through the hoop while it was still moving. A large audience had already gathered when a young man came from the south side of the camp circle to join them. He wore a buffalo robe with the hair turned outward. His body was painted yellow, and a yellow painted eagle breech feather was fastened to his head. Soon another young man, dressed exactly like the first one, came from the north side of the circle to watch the game. They were unacquainted, but when the two caught sight of each other, they moved through the crowd to talk. My friend, said the man from the south side, you're imitating my dress. Why are you doing it? The other man said, it's you who are imitating me. Why? In their explanations, both men told the same story. They had entered the spring that flowed out from the hillside, and there they had been instructed how to dress. By now, the crowd had stopped watching the game and gathered around to listen, and the young man told the people that they would go into the spring again and come out soon. As the crowd watched, the two approached the spring. The man from the south covered his head with his buffalo robe and entered. The other did the same thing. The young men splashed through the water and soon found themselves in a large cave. Near the entrance sat an old woman cooking some buffalo meat and corn in two separate earthen pots. She welcomed them. Grandchildren, you have come. Here, sit beside me. They sat down, one on each side of her, and told her that the people were hungry and that they had come to her for food. She gave them corn from one pot and meat from the other. They ate until they had enough, and when they were through, the pots were still full. Then she told them to look towards the south, and they saw that the land in that direction was covered with buffalo. She told them to look to the west, and they saw all kinds of animals, large and small, including ponies, though they knew nothing of ponies in those days. She told them to look toward the north, and they saw corn growing everywhere. The old woman said to them, all this that you have seen shall be yours in the future. Tonight, I cause the buffalo to be restored to you. When you leave this place, the buffalo will follow, and your people will see them coming before sunset. Take this uncooked corn in your robes and plant it every spring in low, moist ground. After it matures, you can feed upon it. Take also this meat and corn that I have cooked, she said, and when you have returned to your people, ask them to sit down to eat in the following order. First, all males from the youngest to the oldest, with the exception of one orphan boy. Second, all females from the oldest to the youngest, with the exception of one orphan girl. When all are through eating, the rest of the food in the pots is to be eaten by the orphan boy and the orphan girl. The two men obeyed the old woman. When they passed out of the spring, they saw that their entire bodies were painted red and yellow. Breath feathers on their heads had turned red. They went unto their people who ate as directed of the corn and of the meat. There was enough for all, and the contents of the pots remained full until they were passed to the two orphan children, who ate all of the rest of the food. Toward sunset, the people went to their lodges and began watching the spring closely, and in a short time they saw a buffalo leap out. Hello. Then another and another, and finally they came so fast that the Cheyenne were no longer able to count them. The buffalo continued to emerge all night, and the following day the whole country out in the distance was covered with buffalo. The buffalo scented the great camp. The next day the Cheyenne surrounded them, for though the men hunted on foot, they ran very fast. For a time the people had an abundance of buffalo meat, and in the spring they moved their camp to low, swampy land, where they planted the corn they had received from the medicine stream. It grew rapidly, and every grain they planted brought forth strong stalks, bearing 2 to 4 ears of corn. The people planted corn every year after this. One spring after planting corn, the Cheyenne went on a buffalo hunt. When they had enough meat to last for a long time, they returned to their fields. To their surprise, they found that the corn had been stolen by some neighboring tribe. Nothing but stalks remained, not even a kernel for seed. Though the theft had occurred about a moon before, the Cheyenne trailed the enemy's footprints for several days. They even fought with 2 or 3 tribes, but never succeeded in tracing of the robbers or recovering the stolen crop. It was a long time before the Cheyenne planted any more corn.
I love you all truly from the bottom of my heart. Be the frequency you want to receive, folks. Have a good night.